Hello and welcome to Granada Reports. We are live with the news across the northwest.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
How the pain goes on for those caught up in the cladding crisis. Tonight, the residents forced to pay thousands in maintenance fees for a building they're not even allowed to live in.
Just how much then have you actually had to pay out?
Is more than 25,000, I think.
Was this prison guard shot dead in an act of retaliation after exposing a relationship between one of his colleagues and an inmate? We'll have the latest from court.
Never stop believing. The Northwest Rowing Club keeping their eyes on the prize despite a century-long dry spell.
No joke, the Blackpool comedian whose humour is helping his recovery from cancer.
And it's a changeable week weather-wise, but there's signs that temperatures are on the up into next. All the details coming up later on.
Well, first tonight, to the flat owners still caught up in the cladding crisis 8 years on from the Grenfell disaster.
Yeah, it's almost unbelievable that so many flat owners are still out of pocket and trapped with homes deemed unsafe.
And it's not an issue confined to our big cities. Tonight we're hearing from leaseholders in Oldham who've been unable to live in their homes for years due to fire safety concerns.
Well, they've branded their property management company a disgrace because the work to fix the building is still not completed.
And to make things worse, the company are charging leaseholders thousands of pounds in management fees. Tim Scott has tonight's top story.
Locked out of her home for nearly 5 years, yet being charged thousands for repair work that's still not finished. Fozia Malik is at the end of her tether.
They just only send us invoices. Every year, 4,000 to 5,000, and sometimes they said we are doing this, we are doing that, and they add money in invoices.
Fozia and everyone who lives in this block in Oldham had to move out in 2020 after the building was deemed a fire hazard. Repair work is yet to be finished by the management company RMG. Fozia is now living in student halls, but that hasn't stopped RMG charging leaseholders like her thousands of pounds in fees for homes they can't access or live in. Just how much then have you actually had to pay out?
Is more than 25,000, I think. When every years goes by that we don't get any answer from RMG, the residential management company, whenever we ask for the time frame, they won't give us any time frame.
Lee Ashworth and his daughter Sarah own and rented out 2 of the flats here. Lee's been diagnosed with leukemia and his wife has a serious brain condition. Like Fozia, they forked out thousands in management fees to RMG while losing thousands in income from rent.
We can't do anything about it. If we say we couldn't afford a legal representation to tattle this company. It's a very big company. And we can't do anything in that respect.
It's an absolute disgrace.
Giles Grover from Manchester Gladiators works to assist those who are caught up in the cladding scandal. He's helping Fozia in her fight with RMG.
They're hammering Fozia and all leaseholders left, right and centre for money, demanding huge payments for service charge. Fozia's now got to pay for fire doors, got to pay for legal fees, service charges, insurance, and she's still homeless. She still can't get to the building.
On their website, RMG described themselves as one of the most respected property management companies who deliver a service that is second to none. In a statement, they told us, "We understand the ongoing concerns of residents and want to reassure everyone that their safety remains our highest priority. This is a complex situation and we're fully committed to resolving it as swiftly and thoroughly as possible so people can live in these homes again." So, still no completion date for the work on the flats and no date for when Fozia can move back in. It seems the only thing she can count on is the monthly bill from RMG for management fees. Tim Scott, ITV News.
Well, adding to what they said in Tim's report, RMG also told us a residents' meeting is due to take place tomorrow to provide updates. Their statement went on, "Remedial works are progressing as planned and we remain on track for the previously communicated targets of mid-July for completion, which will then be subject to final confirmation from Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service for the prohibition to be lifted."
Well, a short time ago, Giles Grover, a leaseholder and campaigner for Manchester Gladiators, and who you saw in Tim's report, joined us in the studio.
We asked him about the impact the situation's having on those affected.
It's the emotional anguish. You know, you're essentially trapped in what you thought was your sanctuary, you know, in your home, where you'd be safe from the outside world. You're trapped in a flat that could potentially, you know, burn you to death within 10 to 15 minutes. Alongside that mental health anguish, it's the financial pain, it's the suffering in general that you just don't feel you can move on with your life. You know, a lot of people we know have been in this situation, as you say, for 8 years, but 5 years minimum, where they just want to crack on, to be able to sell up, to grow their family, to move, to get another job, but they just can't because they're just trapped.
It seems so unfair.
The one thing that everyone knows, the Grenfell Tower inquiry has reported, the government's confirmed that leaseholders, residents, are the only innocent victims of this scandal. You know, you've got the government at fault for it for deregulation, successive governments for decades, all sectors of industry, whether it's developers, product manufacturers, contractors, they've all been the ones that focus on profits over our safety. So we're the innocent ones, but we're still being made to pay. We're still having massive battles trying to find out when our homes will be made safe.
Why do you think this crisis just keeps going on and on and on without any resolution?
I think there's probably a couple of things. I think we had the last government that, you know, I think we always knew they were never really going to get a full grip of it. They were going to do something, and they brought various measures in, but they brought a really complicated, I'll say, solution, for want of a better word, that is still causing lots of arguments, delays, disputes right now, because there's funding for cladding, but as we've said all along, that there's a whole range of defects, non-cladding defects, compartmentation, you know, could really get into the weeds of it, but everyone's arguing who's going to pay for that. You've got different people protected, you've got different heights, so there's not a simple solution saying, let's make these homes safe.
So there must be thousands of people who feel simply forgotten, because this issue about safety in apartments, it does make the headlines every day.
Yeah, I think it made a lot of the headlines, you know, a few years ago before the law changed. It still crops up now and again. We recently had the Grenfell anniversary. There's a Netflix documentary as well, which has seen, you know, more of the general public understand those issues and the fact there's still thousands of buildings that are unsafe. But yeah, whether it's thousands in Greater Manchester, hundreds of thousands across the country, we're all still, you know, homeowners, people who thought that we'd be protected by the state, who've kind of lost all faith, really.
Yeah, but what, in your opinion, needs to happen now?
We've said it for the last year, for the last few years, to be honest, that the government needs to take control of this crisis. Some of this is about risk assessment, making sure everyone knows consistently what makes a building safe. But it really just needs, whether it's the government, Health and Safety Executive, Homes England, to say, OK, 5,000 buildings that are unsafe, let's really make sure that they're made safe, and then you've got different developers, contractors, wherever it may be, we'll get the money from them, taking the weight off the leaseholders, the residents, who are still having to battle, who are still sending emails left, right and centre saying, when can I get out of this mess? The government needs to take control.
Giles Grover from Manchester Gladiators, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
And if you're one of the many affected by those issues, you can share your story with us. Just send us an email to granada.reports@itv.com.
On to more of the day's news now, and an historic mill destroyed by a huge fire in Manchester city centre will be partially demolished in the coming days. The 225-year-old Hotspur Press building near Oxford Road Station caught fire on Monday. It took more than 100 firefighters to bring the flames under control. The fire service say internal investigations to determine the cause of the blaze will take place once the building is safe enough to enter.
Meanwhile, a number of homes in St Helens have been evacuated after a bomb disposal unit was called to a street there. Police were investigating a death at a house on Chadwick Road when several unexploded weapons were found. A cordon remains in place while more searches are carried out. The death of the occupant, 64-year-old John Nelson, is not being treated as suspicious.
They've cordoned it off because they found decommissioned hand grenades and decommissioned dummy bombs and that, practice bombs and artillery shells and everything else that he could ever collected in his life, you know what I mean? But it's just the way he was, you know what I mean? He'd never hurt a person really or harm a fly.
2 women and a man have been charged with the murder of a man in Blackburn. 37-year-old Paul Scott was found dead at a house on Peridot Close in the town on Sunday. A post-mortem found he died from a stab wound. Police say their inquiries are continuing and local residents can expect to see high visibility patrols in the days ahead.
A football coach from Cheshire has been found guilty of 57 sexual offences against children. 67-year-old William Woods from Congleton sexually abused 8 children in Northwich and Crewe between 1976 and 2006. The court heard Woods was able to use his connections with family friends to build a position of trust and isolate the children from their loved ones before sexually abusing them. He'll be sentenced on the 15th of August at Chester Crown Court.
ITV's cameras have been filming with police and health workers in Cheshire who are on the front line dealing with the rise in ketamine use. Cheshire Police carried out raids arresting 4 people, including 3 teenagers suspected of supplying the drug to young people across the area.
What we do know is that ketamine seems to be quite prevalent within quite a wide range of ages. We've seen it kind of as low as 13.
And you can watch the full special report, Ketamine, the Teen Crisis, on ITVX or on the ITV News YouTube channel now.
Well, next to the murder of Lenny Scott, the father of 3 from West Lancashire who was gunned down in the street after being targeted, it's alleged, because of his work as a prison officer.
Yes, a jury at Preston Crown Court has heard that Lenny was shot 6 times as he left a gym in Skelmersdale in February last year.
Yeah, it was a revenge attack, the prosecution say, orchestrated by a former prisoner at HMP Alt Course where Lenny had worked.
Our reporter Emma Sweeney was in court today, and Emma, tell us more.
Well, it was on the 8th of February last year when Lenny Scott was gunned down outside that gym in Skelmersdale, and it's the prosecution's case that at the very least the individual who organised that shooting was Elias Morgan. They also believe he was the one who pulled the trigger. The motive for murder, they say, came some 4 years before when Elias Morgan was a prisoner at HMP Alt Course in Liverpool and Lenny Scott was a prison officer. Mr. Scott was one of 3 officers who had been asked to go into Elias Morgan's cell to search it, and upon searching the cell he found a mobile phone. That phone was seized. Now the prosecution told the jury in this case that Elias Morgan had tried to offer Lenny Scott money to get rid of that phone. He refused to do so, and it was examined, and upon examination it was found that Elias Morgan was in a relationship with another prison officer. Now prosecutions then followed. Elias Morgan allegedly then told Lenny Scott that he would get him. He would bide his time, he said, but he would get him. So the prosecution said that is exactly what happened then some 4 years later when Lenny Scott left the gym that night and he was shot 6 times. Today, members of Mr. Scott's family wiped tears from their eyes. They watched on from the public gallery as CCTV of the moment that Mr. Scott was shot was played before the jury. Now, the prosecution alleged that the gunman in this case used an electric motorbike to get to the scene and then to escape from the scene, and that bike was loaded onto a van that was parked in a nearby estate. And this is where the second defendant in this case comes in. The prosecution alleged that Anthony Cleary played a supporting role. They say that upon instruction, Anthony Cleary brought the van to the estate with the electric bike in the back of it. The prosecution say that he knew the van and the motorbike was to be used by the gunman to kill Lenny Scott, or at the very least cause him serious harm. He is accused of murder or an alternative count of manslaughter. Both men in this case deny all the charges against him, and it will continue here at Preston Crown Court tomorrow.
OK, Emma at Preston Crown Court, many thanks indeed. OK, still to come this evening.
Blackpool comedian Joey Blower tells us about being back on stage in the resort after being diagnosed with prostate cancer.
And the jet stream will be shifting to the north by the time we get into Sunday and next week, giving us a real boost in temperatures, a return to summer. All the details coming up in the forecast in a few minutes.
Let's take a look at the national news, which is up next. Here's Lucrezia.
Coming up on tonight's ITV Evening News, a man is found guilty of murdering 14-year-old Daniel Angerin during a samurai sword rampage in Hainault last year. ITV News uncovers a startling rise of ketamine addiction amongst children as young as 12. And Arise Sir Gareth, the former England boss, gets a knighthood. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Gareth Southgate, congratulations getting his knighthood. He's a really, really good guy. I'm a big fan of Southgate.
We are indeed.
And that allows us to move seamlessly onto our sports news now. Time now for the sport, and Manchester United star set for Italy. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, two Italian clubs appear to be battling it out for Jadon Sancho. His Manchester United career does seem to be nearing its conclusion now. Juventus are understood to be holding further talks with United today to take the winger to Turin. Sancho spent last season on loan at Chelsea. He still has 1 year left on his United deal. They want around £25 million for his signature. Napoli are also keen to sign him. Meanwhile, another out-of-favour United star, Marcus Rashford, is being linked with a move to Barcelona. To Rugby League, and Salford Red Devils' immediate future is secure. A winding-up petition filed by HMRC has been adjourned today. The struggling Super League club reportedly owe more than £500,000, but are confident they're about to secure a bridging loan, so the petition has been adjourned until September. Next to cricket, and an exciting finish to Lancashire's county championship match in Blackpool. This is James Anderson's first time captaining his county, and it looked like he might get a win as Chris Green and Tom Bailey tore through the Kent's batting lineup this afternoon, reducing them to 116 for 7 at one point in their second innings. That in reply to Lancashire's 639 first innings score, but Kent fought back well, currently 316 for 8, with the match heading for a draw. In netball, Manchester Thunder's head coach says it would be a dream to make it through to the Super League Grand Final. Thunder's season has been hampered by injuries. Despite that, though, the team are through to this weekend's playoff semi-final, where they face Loughborough Lightning.
To be honest, this last 4 months has been a complete blur. Who'd have thought, in February time when we were dealing with 40% of our athletes out of the squad, that we would be even here. So super proud of what the girls have put together, the resilience that they've shown over the season, and I think if we can get through Sunday, I really honestly believe this group can take us all the way.
Really exciting to be able to make it into the top 4 and then into the major semi-final. We had a little bit of a rocky start of the season with a lot of injuries and pregnancy, so we've really grown throughout the season, so I'm really excited to be able to go to the major semi-final and hopefully go through to the final.
Yeah, let's hope they do. Well, next to the Chester Rowers, hoping to end a 101-year wait to win one of the most prestigious prizes in their sport. The Henley Royal Regatta gets underway next week, featuring competitors from all over the world. After finishing as runners-up in their final last year, the Royal Chester Rowing Club are determined to go one better this time. David Chisnall has been to meet the team in training.
Henley Royal Regatta is a world-renowned sporting spectacle that's steeped in history. It is to rowing what Wimbledon is to tennis. To win on the famous stretch of the River Thames is among the biggest honours for any rower. But Royal Chester Rowing Club haven't seen any victory there since 1924.
Not too far to go.
They were pipped to the post in the final of the prestigious Britannia Challenge Cup last year. Now want to go one better and end their 101-year wait for glory.
Can you do it this year?
I hope so.
What would it mean if you could?
Oh, it would mean an awful lot, to be honest. I mean, I think, generally speaking, the clubs that win it are down south, so they're based in London. They're better resourced, they're bigger, more powerful, like literally. And therefore, for us to kind of sneak up there and kind of take it off them would be like a true sort of underdog story.
Go. Well, after the hurt of missing out last year, it's the same team motivated to make history this year. Unlike some of the crews they'll face, they're balancing training with day jobs.
I work for the NHS, trying to help people as best I can getting their x-rays. I'm not going to lie, it's tricky. I'm down here pretty much every evening, and it's tough. I'm tired a lot. Only just missing out last year was gutting. So to be able to do that this year with everything else that we do in our lives, it would be incredible.
Blink, and you may miss one of the team who, despite being hard to see, plays a big role.
I'm the cox and I face the way that we're going, so the rowers are facing the wrong way. They can't see where they're going. And my job is first and foremost to steer and keep them safe. And then I also am the tactician. I'm also a coach and I'm also a cheerleader, so it's kind of multidisciplinary role. So my job is to make sure we go from A to B as fast as possible.
Well, the Royal Chester Rowing Club began in 1838, a year before the first Henley Regatta. Based at its modest clubhouse on the banks of the River Dee, it now has around 300 members aged between 12 and 80. And for many here, rowing runs in the family.
So my dad's rowed here from the 1970s. He's been captain, he's been chairman. His brother was a member, I think he might have been a captain. My dad's cousin was a member, president and captain, and his son rowed for the club. All my siblings have rowed for the club. And so I've been rowing here since 2008, so it'll be my 17th year straight rowing for Royals.
Oh, it's in the blood. But none of them have ever won the Henley Regatta, so you could be the first.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah. Be the first one to do it.
So this one here is the last one.
Records of their previous 5 Henley triumphs hang proudly on the clubhouse wall. And after a century of waiting, they're working hard to deliver a long overdue 6th success. David Chisnell, ITV News, Chester.
Yeah, best of luck to everybody at Chester. You could almost feel that weight of history on their shoulders there, couldn't you? Now, that looks brutal to me. I've never tried rowing. You know me, I get exhausted walking from my desk to the studio. Have you guys ever tried it?
I haven't tried it, but I know that I'd be absolutely shocking at it.
Yeah.
So, no, not for me.
I've done dragon boat rowing, but we were definitely not as slick as those guys where I think we fell in the Albert Dock. And we came 20th out of 20th.
And what about being the cocks as well? Like your head is so close to the water.
You could barely see her. I knew that she was there to control the strokes, but I didn't realise that she was steering the boat as well. I never knew that until that report. Yeah, incredible. But as David said there, these guys are incredible. You've got police officers there, NHS staff. They have tough enough jobs as it is. And then at the end of the day, they get in the boat on the River Dee and they do that. They're incredible. Let's hope they're rewarded.
Best of luck to
Yeah,
the team,
they've been very patient, haven't they? Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Cheers, Mike.
Now, have you heard the one about the Blackpool comedian who's making his audiences laugh about his cancer treatment in the hope it will improve men's health?
Yeah, that is just what Joey Blower is doing after he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Joey is hoping humour will encourage men to get tested.
Yeah, and on his return to the stage, in the results, he was joined by someone very special to him, as Paul Crone reports.
Comedian Joey Blower getting a helping hand on stage at Viva Blackpool thanks to his daughter Olivia to give him the confidence to perform in front of a live audience following his treatment for prostate cancer. It gave him the boost he needed to return to show business after being diagnosed in 2021.
I'm fairly confident that the treatment that I had in Prague, which was proton beam treatment, has been completely successful, and it gives me a great chance at enjoying the rest of my life.
Joey captured his cancer on camera and now uses his humour on stage to get men to get tested for prostate cancer, proving laughter can sometimes be the best medicine.
When I walked in and the man was there, 6'4", put the glove on, put the finger test in, pulled the finger out, threw the glove in the bin. He walked out, the nurse walked in, said, "Who was he?"
At his side all the way is his 8-year-old daughter Olivia, who raised £6,500 for a local charity whilst her dad was recovering.
I asked all my friends and family to not give me any birthday presents, but donate some money to Brian House charity.
And Joey's advice to us blokes who might be concerned about our health.
If you can do it in front of 600, 700, 800 people and talk about what the doctors do to you and how it's embarrassing, but it's not painful, then you, on Monday, you can go to the doctors and make an appointment.
Joey has been a long-term friend of Granada Reports for decades, so we couldn't leave without a little joke, courtesy of Olivia.
How many Lionel Richies does it take to change a light bulb?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Only one, but it takes all night long.
All night long.
Paul Crone, ITV News, Blackpool.
All night long.
You were barely laughing at some of those jokes, weren't you? Go on, you must have a good dad joke up your sleeve.
What do you call a deer with no eyes? No idea. Hey, yeah.
Don't give up your day job.
Here's Joe. Bye-bye.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello again, a very good evening to you. Over the next couple of days or so, it'll be rather breezy at times with some warm spells of sunshine, but tomorrow morning starts on a showery and cloudy note for the northwest of England. Quite a fresh feel, however, by the time we get to the weekend, temperatures are on the up and we'll be seeing a shift in the jet stream to the north by the time we get to Saturday evening and into Sunday, which will feed in much warmer air from the continent across the UK as a whole. This means a boost in temperatures for the northwest, above average for the time of year into next week. Back to this evening, however, a dry start with a few clear spells, but cloud will build as we head through the night, and after midnight we'll see more in the way of patchy rain, becoming a little bit more heavy and widespread into the early hours of tomorrow morning. Breeze is picking up for Irish Sea coasts as well before dawn. But a warm night, the air is quite humid, so towns and cities are not likely to fall much below 16 or 17 degrees. On to tomorrow. First of all, the sun times. It's up at 4:41 and it sets at 9:46 tomorrow evening. A pretty cloudy start in store for the northwest of England and the Isle of Man. Bits and pieces of showery rain throughout the morning. We'll see a little run of heavier showers moving through mid-morning before they push across the Pennines in a way, and skies will brighten from the west. During tomorrow afternoon, it should generally be dry, with decent amounts of sunshine, a light to moderate breeze, always a little more at Irish Sea coast through the day, and temperatures at 21 or 22 degrees, just above average for the time of year. Now, looking ahead over the next couple of days or so, quite a feed of cloud across the northwest of England and a drizzly start on Friday. The weekend will see a boost in temperatures which will increase further into next week. Here's the pollen.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Making the most of summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
Grass pollen levels and weed pollen levels combining at times to be rather high over the next few days, dipping to moderate on Friday, but for the weekend, back up to high. Take care.
So our job is doing the weather. You've been using your well-honed journalistic skills to do some research on jokes. What have you got for us?
OK, I used to have a job at a calendar factory, but I got fired for missing a few days.
Very good, very good. Any more?
I've got another one. What did the wall say to the other wall?
What?
I'll meet you at the corner.
Absolutely shocking. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.